All right, what's going on YouTube? Um, I was listening to the media call between Steve Cunningham and Antonio Tarver. These guys are gonna fight heavyweights. Gonna fight on PBC on Spike next week, right? So I'm listening to it, and it starts pretty cool. Antonio Tarver is doing most of the talking early. He's being very respectful. He's talking about how he thinks Steve is a very good fighter, that he really wants to win this fight to get a title shot against Deontay Wilder or Vladimir Klitschko. And it's pretty cool. He's being very respectful though. We know Tarver got a big mouth, but he's being very very respectful. And then he goes into this thing where he's comparing both of them, how both of these fighters, both him and Steve Cunningham, has gone through a lot. Steve going through everything with his daughter, you know, um, and how he's been going through a lot the past few years or whatever. And it seems real cool. Like it doesn't really seem like anything. I thought it was kind of strange how I don't know. Obviously, don't know what Antonio Tarver is going through, but I thought it was kind of weird that he compared his situation to Steve's situation, because Steve's situation is kind of crazy. Everything with his daughter. So, uh, Tarver's talking for a little while, and then Steve finally talks, and they finally ask him a question, and then Steve goes on a verbal assassination of just a slander against Tarver for even comparing their lifestyles. Steve is talking about how can you compare us when you still driving a Bentley, you making such and such X amount of money a year, and I'm not making that kind of money. Like, what can you possibly go through that you can compare yourself to me in real life, you know? Um, and they just started slandering. It started getting crazy. These guys were just there's a lot of talking on his phone call, so it was very entertaining to listen to. Now the fight itself, um, I think it's a solid matchup. I honestly believe that's a good matchup. I know both of these guys, you could say they're over the hill. Antonio Tarver is 46 years old. Steve Cunningham he's pushing 40, and they're not the the top heavyweights in the division. I think Steve Cunningham is arguably maybe a top 10, top 15 heavyweight. Um, but I think it's a good matchup. I really honestly do. I think it's an even matchup. And I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Um, I wouldn't be surprised if Tarver or Cunningham, the winner of this fight, gets to fight Deontay Wilder. I know Tarver has been talking about trying to get in the ring with Deontay Wilder. I don't know if Deontay Wilder is waiting to see if who wins this fight and take the winner of this fight, or might take Chris Arreola next. He does have one fight before he fights Povetkin, so he's most likely gonna fight one of these guys. But the matchup is pretty solid to me. Where do I see it going? How do I see it going? Well, I think Steve definitely has the youth advantage. Okay, he's the more active fighter um, in the ring, and I think he needs to be more active. You're fighting an older guy, a guy that doesn't have a high volume, a guy that's more of a defensive fighter, uh, guy that's just a southpaw, pretty slick, but he just wants to land that straight left. Tarver got a lot of pop in that straight left hand. He still got some decent speed. If you go and watch the Jonathan Banks fight, he looked pretty good in it for to fight a guy that's a pretty good boxer, that's still much younger, that's still in his early mid 30s. Uh, Tarver did well against him. I didn't think Tarver was going to pull it off against him at his age, but see, Cunningham just have to stay active. Okay, he needs to use his legs, use the ring, keep circling Tarver. Circling clockwise, stay out of the range of that straight left hand. Because outside of that, Tarver really doesn't have that many weapons. Okay, um, but he's good at what he does. Okay, and he's pretty accurate. He's pretty accurate. He has great timing. He's not as athletic, but don't really get fooled by his physique and his age. Okay, because he's still beating guys. I know he was on steroids against the or PEDs against the what's it called Coyote fight. So I really don't know how good Tarver is at this point, at this stage as a heavyweight. He really hasn't been fighting at a heavyweight that long, and he hasn't really fought great fighters since he was in the light heavyweight division. But you can't count him out. He does have a lot of experience. He's very slick. Um, I think what he needs to do is try to slow Cunningham down, slow the pace down. He has to gain Cunningham's respect early within the first few rounds because, land a big shot if he can. Gain some respect. Try to slow Cunningham down. Make him think twice about throwing anything out there. He's a good counterpuncher, and that's the thing with guys that's fighting this late this late in their career and so old like him and Bernard Hopkins. Good counterpunchers, great at timing. Not as athletic as they once were, but they still have the skills. If it wasn't about age, maybe Tarver could beat this guy, but who knows? I think Steve Cunningham needs to stay active in this fight, okay? Volume is the key, and movement. Don't stand right in front of Antonio Tarver like Jonathan Banks did. Don't stand. You're not going to really win a chess match. Or if you do, you're going to have a hard time. You're going to put yourself at risk, okay? Um, Cunningham had a decent year. I thought he won against Glaskov. And then he had a great fight, one of those fight of the year type of fights against Amir Mansour. So, he's been pretty good. He's been fighting tough guys, he lost to Tyson Fury, but he's lost to some pretty good fighters, all right? So, I think Cunningham is going to win the fight, but I'm not really sure, because of Tarver, Tarver, you can't sleep on him, even though he's up there in age. Hopefully Cunningham is well conditioned for this fight because he slows down towards the end. He usually gets gassed out. Um, I think that's part of the reason why they gave Glaskov the decision. He was tired, very tired against Tyson Fury too. Hopefully his condition is up to par because the more that he slows down, the better advantage Tarver is going to have in the later rounds of this fight. I still think he should do enough to win the fight, but I think it's going to be a tough fight. I think it's going to be competitive, and I think it might even be like a split decision win or a draw type of fight at the end. I don't think anyone is going to really dominate, but I think Cunningham is going to win this fight by decision, okay? So that's my pick, and make sure you guys listen to the media call. The media call was crazy. All right.